Hello, my dear lovely students. I, Kailash Kumar sir, welcomes you all on this online edu classes of Brilliant Public School. In this video, we are going to continue with our previous topic of Unit 2, Section 1, topic A Day in the Country, written by Anton Chekhov. And this is the second part of our video. Dear students, in the previous part, we discussed the introduction of this story, that this is a beautiful moving story about two orphaned siblings named Fyokla and Danilka and a cobbler named Terenti who were together in the woods after Terenti rescued Danilka when his hand was stuck into a hole in a tree. And in just one day, Danilka's life changed after learning a lot of things from Terenti. Now let us have a quick recap what we studied in the first part. We studied that Fyokla, a little girl of 6, is running through the village looking for Terenti the cobbler. What for? Actually, Fyokla's brother's hand got stuck inside a hole in the tree. Why? Because he was taking out a cuckoo's egg. But unfortunately, the same time the storm, the heavy wind started blowing, and due to that, there was a break in the woods of that tree, and his hand got stuck inside the hole of that tree. So now to rescue his brother, Fyokla was searching for Terenti everywhere, and whoever she was meeting on the way, she was asking for Terenti, but no one answered Fyokla as they all were preoccupied with the approaching storm, and they had to take refuge, shelter in their huts. Finally, she met Silantis, the sacristan, and from him Fyokla came to know where Terenti actually was. Now she runs behind the huts to the kitchen gardens, and there she finds Terenti. And what Terenti was doing that time? The tall old man with a thin, pock-marked face and with very long legs, bare feet, and was dressed in a woman's tattered jacket, was looking towards the vegetable plants. The moment she meets Terenti, she informs him that brother Danilka has met with an accident. His hand got stuck inside the hole of a tree while taking out cuckoo's eggs. Now she needs help of Terenti to rescue his brother. So, dear students, this was all about we studied in the first part. Now let us move ahead in this second part. Now they both started walking towards the place where this incident happened. Now Terenti says further, "The day has hardly begun and already you are in trouble." Terenti shook his head. "Well, what am I to do with you now? I must come. I must. Come, little child." Terenti comes out of the kitchen garden and lifting high his long legs begins striding down the village street. He walks quickly without stopping. Fyokla can hardly keep up with him. Now, as you can see in the image, student, how Terenti is walking ahead with his long legs. Striding means walking with long decisive steps. Now they both started walking towards the count's copse where the hand of Danilka was stuck inside the tree. But Fyokla was hardly able to keep the speed, keep the pace of walking with him. They come out of the village and turn along the dusty road towards the count's copse that lies dark blue in the distance. It is about a mile and a half away. Now here we can see that they have approached out of the village, and the weather situation has also changed. Earlier it was blue in color, now it is totally dark, and the distance from their hut to that count's copse was about a mile and a half. The clouds have by now covered the sun, and soon afterwards there is not a speck of blue left in the sky. It grows dark. Now, as you can see in this image, that no single mark of blue is left over the sky. It has totally changed to dark. It has grown dark there. The first raindrops, big and heavy, like dark dots on the dusty road. A big drop falls on Fiocla's cheek and glides like a tear down her chin. You can clearly see in the image. The rain has begun, mutters the cobbler, kicking up the dust with his bare, bony feet. That's fine, Fiocla, old girl. The grass and the trees are fed by the rain, as we are by bread. And as for the thunder, don't you be frightened. Why should it harm a little thing like you? Now, while they were on the way, the weather suddenly changed and the rainfall started. The first raindrops, very big and heavy, they fell on the dusty road, and even one of the big drop fell on Fiocla's cheek, which glided like a tear down her chin. Here, the first incident happened when Terenti started teaching about the nature, about various changes that occur in the nature, and it was totally new terms and new concept for the little girl Fiocla, and she was very curiously listening towards what Terenti is telling about the nature, about the raindrops, and she should not get frightened with that raindrops and the thunder, because that thunder is not going to harm the little girl Fiocla. So this was the first lesson which he taught Fiocla on the way. Now let us continue. As soon as the rain begins, the wind drops. Now the moment when the rain began, the wind stopped blowing. The only sound is the patter of rain dropping like fine shots on the young rye and the parched road. The only sound that could be heard on the way was of the raindrops. We shall get soaked, Fiocla, mutters Terenti. There won't be a dry spot left on us. Ho ho, my girl, it's run down my neck. But don't be frightened, silly. The grass will be dry again, the earth will be dry again, and we shall be dry again. There is the same sun for us all. Here, Terenti is teaching another lesson to the little girl Fiocla, that after the rainfall, when they will get wet, then the same process will be repeated. The sun will rise again and they will get dry again, and each and everything on the earth will get dry again. So she should not worry about what will happen when they will get wet after the rain. Let us move ahead, students. A flash of lightning, some 14 feet long, gleams above their head. As you can see in the image, there is a loud peal of thunder, and it seems to Fiocla that something big, heavy and round is rolling over the sky and tearing it open exactly over her head. So this was the first experience of the little girl Fiocla about the lightning, about the thunder, about such type of changes which occur in nature. So she was totally astonished about what was happening there on the way towards the Count's corpse. Don't be afraid, little girl. It is not from spites that it thunders, Terenti says. Spites means unkindness, means it is not their misfortune that they are facing such trouble on their way in the form of rainfall or in the form of thunder or lightning. It is a natural phenomena which occurs in nature, said Terenti. Terenti's and Fiocla's feet are covered with lumps of heavy wet clay, as you can clearly see in the image, students. And yes, you all are well familiar what happens when you walk on a wet clay, and that too barefoot without shoes or gum boots. It is slippery and difficult to walk, but Terenti strides on more and more rapidly. The weak little girl is breathless and ready to drop. But students, it was not a new task for Terenti to walk on such a wet lumps of clay or wet clay. It was totally a new concept, a new experience for the little girl Fiocla, that very hardly she was able to walk on that wet clay, and she was almost ready to drop. She was almost ready to fall there. But at last they go into the Count's corpse. But dear students, finally they were successful in reaching the Count's corpse by facing this heavy thunder and rainfall. The washed trees, stirred by a gust of wind, drop a perfect waterfall upon them. Terenti stumbles over stumps and begins to slacken his pace. Stumbles means to hit your foot against something which is there on the ground and you are not paying attention towards it. Stumps are the leftover part after cutting down trees or something on the ground. And when he got stumble over that stumps, he began to slow down his speed. He began to slow down his pace. Slacken means to become slower or less active. Whereabouts is Danilka? He asked to Fiocla. Lead me to him. Fiocla leads him into a thicket and after going a quarter of a mile points to Danilka. Her brother, a little fellow of 8 with hair as red as orchard and a pale sickly face, stands leaning against a tree with his head on one side looking sideways at the sky. Ochre means a pale brownish yellow color. His hair was as red as a pale brownish yellow color and his face was also pale because he was too much worried there that what will happen there if his hand is not coming out of that hole. So when these two persons, Fiocla and Terenti, reached there, they saw that his head was on one side and he was looking sideways at the sky. In one hand he holds his shabby old cap, the other is hidden in an old lime tree. The boy is gazing at the stormy sky and apparently not thinking of his trouble. So he was in such a condition that one of his hand, as you can see in the image, his right hand was inside the old lime tree, as he was making an attempt to take out the cuckoo's eggs. And on one hand he is holding his shabby old cap. Shabby means dirty or untidy or in bad condition. Hearing footsteps and seeing the cobbler, he gives a sickly smile and says. So when this boy saw Terenti coming towards him, he was very much happy that someone came to rescue him, and he started smiling. A terrible lot of thunder, Terenti. I have never heard so much thunder in all my life. Now, as he was very young, very small, and very innocent, so to change the topic, that as if nothing happened there, nothing has happened there, he is trying to divert the topic. And he is telling that a terrible lot of thunder, Terenti. I have never heard so much thunder in all my life. So he's also experiencing this the first time. So he's sharing his views upon this thunder and lightning, that he has never experienced such thunder in all his life. And where is your hand? Terenti asked him. The boy replied, in the hole. Pull it out, please, Terenti. Now the boy, Denilka, asked him that kindly help me, kindly pull out my hand out of this hole. The wood had broken at the edge of the hole and jammed Danilka's hand. He could push it farther in, but could not pull it out. Terenti snaps off the broken piece, and the boy's hand, red and crushed, is released. As the hand was inside that hole for a long time, so its appearance was totally changed. It was red and crushed when it came out, when it was released. It's terrible how it's thundering, the boy says again, rubbing his hand. What makes it thunder, Terenti? One cloud runs against the other, answers the cobbler. So when the boy asks him further that how this thunder occurs, Terenti replied that one cloud runs against the other, answers the cobbler. The party comes out of the copse and walks along the edge of it towards the darkened road. The thunder gradually abates, and its rumbling is heard far away beyond the village. Abates means becomes less intense or becomes less strong. Now, when the hand of Danilka was released from that hole, they started walking towards the darkened road, and gradually the thunder also became less strong, less intense, and the rumbling of the thunder was heard far away beyond the village. The ducks flew by here the other day, Terenti, says Danilka, still rubbing his hand. They must be nesting in the Nelia Zymistcha marshes. Fiokla, would you like me to show you a nightingale's nest? Marshes are area of soft wet land, as you can see in the image, or marshy land we can say, very wet land. Now the boy further asks the girl Fiokla that would you like me to show you a nightingale's nest? Don't touch it, you might disturb them, says Terenti. The nightingale is a singing bird without sin. So here is the image of a nightingale bird, how the bird is feeding towards its young ones. And Terenti is instructing these two young children, young kids, that they should not disturb the nightingale bird, as it is a singing bird and it has not done any sin. So you should not disturb them. He has had a voice given him in his throat to praise God and gladden the heart of man. It's sin to disturb him. So Terenti is teaching another lesson of life, of nature, that the God has given this particular bird, the throat of this bird is a blessed one, and the bird uses its throat, its voice, to praise God, and it gladdens the heart of man, and it is a sin to disturb this bird. So this was all about in the second part of our video, students. I hope you all have understood the second part and the first part as well. So thank you all. I expect, I hope that you all will have a thorough reading of this much from the textbook. Thank you all, my dear students. Have a blessed day. Have a beautiful day.